Crap! Storage Wars is on in 5.
Just leave it for the DVR. We got to cover this movie.
Yes, this film. Breaking Wind. Thanks, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Cheap Seat Critics podcast, where we're still in our, I guess, Twilight season plus at this point. With me today, we have...
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Geeky Writer.
I'm Crimson Marine.
And I'm Sprinks. And hey, if you... Oh, gosh, where are you now? Listening to this movie, you could be Antarctica. Let's go with that. All our fans out in Antarctica. Hey, if you look up Cheap Seat Critics podcast on the interwebs, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, LetterBoxd, Facebook, TikTok, maybe Reddit. Who knows? And we also got YouTube and Rumble for visual side of things, even though it's an audio podcast. We know. Yeah.
Blended. All right. I'm just going to jump straight into it. We're going with histories, starting with Springs.
Sweet. Never heard of this movie before. Didn't know existed. I have seen all the Twilight films. In case this is your first Cheap Seat Critics pod listening to, or you didn't listen to our previous Twilight ones. And I have seen Vampires Suck. I have not read any of the books. Oh, and thanks to Crimson, I have also not played any of the board games.
The plethora of board games. I'll go next with my history. I've seen Twilight Saga twice for the podcast. I saw Vampire Sucks once for the podcast. I hadn't heard of it before the podcast. Same with this. Hadn't heard of it. Haven't read books. That's about it. Writer.
All right. So, to repeat my histories from previous podcasts regarding this franchise, read the books, seen the movies, once before the podcast, once for the podcast. Forgot all about the books because I just ejected it from my mind. I'd heard of Vampires Suck, and this one I heard nothing about at all. This was my first time hearing about it, was for this podcast.
All right. Very similar histories. All things
So you guys have played the board games?
No. I haven't played the video games because I don't know if there's any video games.
Oh, there's a video game?
I don't know. I'm just assuming everything had video games. The first movie came out, 2008? So there was a whole bunch of movie games.
I can't
reflexively, but you only get 2 options.
I can't reflexively deny, because I think I did get roped into playing a board game Twilight related many years ago, but I don't remember. So I'm gonna label that one as a maybe.
All right. So I deep dove for facts, and I came up essentially empty-handed.
I'm impressed you found
there was pretty much nothing. I found no budget. I found a box office. There was no domestic box office. There was only international. So they made internationally 1.9 mil. So there you go.
So this was theatrically shown.
Internationally, it looks, yeah. I couldn't find where internationally. If it was just in China or just in one country or what. I don't know. But just under 2 mil is what they made. It feels
like this would have been released either in the UK or Australia, because they have a very much more raunchy sense of humor.
Perhaps. So about 2 mil. And then the only other fact I found doesn't really constitute as much as a fact. The fact I found was that IMDb's fact section, because it was the first place I checked, and then I checked everywhere else I could, only had one fact listed, which was Danny Trejo played Billy Black. That was the only fact.
That's cleared up.
I'm happy that they confirmed it, I guess.
I know that was nothing. So there you go. There's the deep dive facts. International box office and confirming an actor that was very clearly depicted. Sweet.
I'm afraid I don't have much to add for that.
No, I wouldn't expect you to.
I do.
Ooh, more. All right. What did you find?
The director, was it Craig Moss? Did other hit films such as The 41-Year-Old Virgin Who Knocked Up Sarah Marshall and Felt Super Bad About It, as well as 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity with the Devil Inside the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Okay. Parodies I haven't heard.
So just other works that this director has done.
Okay. Yeah, haven't heard of those. We'll jump into the coverage. To spare us and the audience from more of this film, we're going with popcorn to hopefully hasten this one. But we'll see.
Wait, spare?
Spare.
Spare.
What do you mean spare? What if this is someone's favorite movie?
Then they can go fuck themselves, to be honest.
Then they can listen to the entire podcast and then decide whether or not we flipped them or not.
Audience, I apologize for the two of you out there in the world who this is your favorite movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
very
not.
sincere, I can tell. All right. Popcorn starting with Springs.
Oh boy. What is the joke or the reason that the characters in this movie are all called by their parody, the source material name? Like, it's not like Vampire Sucks with like Becca, like it's actually Bella, Edward, Jacob, like they all have their names. Except Riley isn't Riley, he's Ronald.
I noticed that as well. Couldn't find any facts regarding the change, so I don't know.
Okay, because I feel like that's a purposeful reason for some reason. And with this movie, it's a joke of some sort. I just didn't get it.
I don't think it's a joke.
There's no joke.
But I'm sure there's some reason why he's the only one that has a different name.
Could it be like a legal thing? Could they not use the name Riley?
I don't know. Maybe. See, I don't know laws with parodies. Maybe they can't 100% take character names from a property in a parody. I don't know.
Huh. I just found it odd.
Yeah, I noticed it as well. Also thought it was odd.
I definitely felt the budget strain immediately when Charlie walked in a weird blue T-shirt instead of a uniform.
Yeah, I really wish I found a budget. I'd like to know if they broke even. It's $2 million, not much for a theatrically released film.
I'm curious how much of their budget went to Danny Trejo.
It had to have been a favor or blackmail,
That sounds like it would be at this rate, yeah.
Like Danny Trejo's cousin was involved in making this, and he asked him a favor. I don't know.
Possibly.
I don't know why he would voluntarily get paid to be in this.
Well, hasn't Danny Trejo been like a cameo in a lot of just C-list or lower movies?
Yeah. I feel like this would be lower than C. But yeah, he has cameoed and stuff before. I had in my second row of notes a potty humor counter that I was just tallying while watching.
Ooh.
And the space I provided for myself was not enough space.
No.
So,
I am on the similar boat with you. So so for you, potty humor overall.
Yeah.
Okay. I tallied how many times they broke wind.
Funny. That's a pretty large number.
Yeah. I did not tally because I realized from the beginning this is only going to be raunchy humor and toilet humor.
Yeah, it kind of spat in the face of the writer of our compliment towards Vampires Suck that there was only one fart joke and wasn't that much potty humor in that film. Mm-hmm. Then they quadrupled down for this.
They really
even though this was made by completely different people, but very different.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, and not keep the audience anticipating. In the film, there are 17 farts of Breaking Wind. In the credits, there are 5 additional ones from Danny Trejo. So in the entirety of the runtime, there are 22 parts of Breaking Wind.
17 seems very low. Are you talking about instances or every single fart?
Every fart. And I think half of those are
Jacob does 8 in a row when he's running with Bella in the woods.
Yeah.
I feel
There's
like I
4
would
when
need
he
to
picks her up.
recount. That seems off. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely applicable to the title. Grant them that.
Yeah, what I won't grant them to the title is that, oh god, now I gotta find my note for it. There was 10 minutes left of the movie, and they just got into Breaking Dawn Part 1 from Eclipse. So I feel like the
That's a
title is
complaint.
slightly misleading.
I mean, it's there. Breaking Dawn is in the film, so it's technically accurate to the film. I mean, that was one of the things I found, dare I say, amusing. That might be too much, but if I was to put every joke in on a tier list, that would probably be up there. But it's still not that funny. Of just the final, or Breaking Dawn being the final 2.5 minutes of the movie, pretty much.
I mean, they spared us by
They did.
shortening.
Well, Breaking Dawn Part 2 wasn't even a part of it.
No, it wasn't. Was that out yet? When did Part 2 come out? This was 2012. This movie.
I don't know. We covered that in Breaking Dawn Part 2, and I don't recall. Unless I have it right here, November 16th, 2012.
Okay, came out the same year. So they probably didn't. The movie probably wasn't out during production then. So I guess that would add up.
It's also a joke that their title in this film was Part 1, right? Because the actual movie doesn't have Part 1.
What do you
I
mean?
think they might have fully expected
Like, the
to make
movie's
another
called
one.
Breaking Wind. And
Mhm.
then in the film, when we see the title, which is 6 seconds, so kudos on them, it says Breaking Wind Part 1.
That's true. They also could
Yeah.
fully have expected to have been able to make another one.
Okay.
It's possible.
And then they like backed out afterwards, but production was already done on it. They couldn't change that, so when it came to box or release, they just had it as such.
I don't know.
I mean, I think it could have been an added joke for Part 1, and Part 2's never coming out.
It could be. Yeah, like I said, I don't know at that point, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
lot
not
of
gonna
assuming.
assume
I
either
don't
way.
know. Let's see. At the beginning here, I'm going to ask favorite joke. And that doesn't mean it
Oh, at
has
the
to actually
beginning.
be funny. No, I'm saying in the beginning of the pod, I'm asking this question.
Oh,
Uh,
the only jokes that
the
got me to
It's supposed
smile.
favorite
to be an
joke
end
in the
question,
film.
but
My
Yeah.
favorite joke is a running one, and it actually got me to smile every time it happened. I enjoyed how much Rosalie hates Bella.
Yeah, I think Rosalie is probably my favorite character in this.
That is my favorite pick for running joke.
yeah, I guess I'll go next. My favorite bit was Jacob breaking the glass and then opening the box to get the dagger.
Okay.
Yeah, that made me snort. And those are probably the only instances of me like smiling or almost laughing.
The TMZ or ZMZ, the first joke they did, I thought that was actually funny, but then they overplayed the joke.
They ran it into the
By
ground.
Oh,
having
you
it
didn't?
Yeah.
You didn't like it on
reoccurring.
the 4th time?
No, where they killed Jacob. No,
It was
He did die, right?
he didn't come back on screen.
So yeah, he actually did die there. Yes.
I
Hopefully,
guess this movie's telling you which team they're on.
I mean something quite different between this one and Vampire Suck is this one is a lot more Jacob centric, while the previous one was a lot more Edward centric.
Well, yeah, the first Twilight movie didn't have Jacob like at all. There's nothing really to parody on that other than parodying "Where's Jake?" and then
Well,
but that wasn't a
Vampire
joke in
Sucks
Vampire
was the
Suck.
first 2 movies, and the second one is Jacob centric. So it
Yeah,
wasn't
they encompassed that with
50-50
the New
with
Moon
Vampire Suck.
parodies.
So yeah. Yep. Writer.
All right. Interesting. I guess it's a neat detail that also should clue you into what this film's humor is going to be. Is when Bella first wakes up from dreaming of her grandma giving Edward a blowjob is
Yeah.
she has a journal that says fellatio on it, or like the art of fellatio. So
And that was the clue to get you into the understanding
no,
this
if
movie?
you,
Oh, okay.
it's just another thing, just to let you know that this is the sense of humor they're going to hammer home, because it's rapid fire here at the beginning.
Yes, yes, it is.
I wrote on my notes, I was curious, with being it sex joke after sex joke, what was the biggest span of time between one to another in this film? I didn't actually catalog or research on
Yeah.
it, but
Um,
That's gonna be difficult. I
Oof.
think there's one like every scene.
is there, well,
I think
yeah, but
the
is there more than a minute of time that has
yeah, I
passed without a sex joke?
think Jacob dying to the end, well, to the 2 months part, or after the wedding, I guess.
I
That
guess the wedding
segment didn't have anything.
I don't think
So,
there's a sex joke when Riley and Victoria are fighting. Sorry, I don't know his name in this. I just call him Riley. Riley and Victoria are fighting Edward, and uh, Bella
that's
needing to stab
true.
herself.
So,
I don't think there's a sex joke. Even during the whole battle sequence when everyone's planking and doing their poses.
Howling?
Yeah.
yeah, I
That
guess
was
the closest would be the Osama bin Laden like adult videos.
Yeah.
Got that?
Which is hilarious. That one's a deep cut right there.
Oh, so
the
that one got you a little
references.
bit.
Yeah, well, there's a big story in the history regarding that. So yes, that was
It's a history joke.
yeah.
The references I think in this film are very dated for a 2012 movie.
I mean, there was one like straight from Starving Games. I don't know which one came first, but the Natiri Avatar thing was
Holding
randomly
Harry
thrown
Potter?
in there. No, that wasn't Harry Potter. That was some Jewish kid.
Yeah.
Wasn't Harry
The
Potter.
reason I think Naturi is there is just specifically because they're a Native American culture, and that movie gets much maligned because it's sci-fi Native Americans, pretty much.
Yeah, I guess that's
Sci-fi
the loose
indigenous.
connection they made there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I could see no other reason other than just to stick a cameo in there than have it make sense. Other than the fact that it's because they're with an indigenous group.
Well, with the use of like Natiri and the Johnny Depp cold ones really gave me the feel of a disaster movie, epic movie type stuff. Because Vampire Sucks didn't do that.
Not that much. It was really pertaining to the film it was covering and not referencing too much outside media. I did remember, since we did Vampire Suck, another parody I had seen, which was Date Movie. Saw that one as well.
I've
Don't
heard
even
about
know what
that
that
one.
is.
That's yeah, I've only heard about that one.
It's a parody on rom-coms. But since the Johnny Depp thing was brought up, that would probably be my second favorite joke in this. I thought the Just Jack Sparrow thing was dumb, but once they made it a bunch of Johnny Depp roles, then I was like, okay, that's kind of amusing. I don't really know why they're called cold ones, but
yeah,
kind of amusing.
Should we, as we go through this, should we keep a tally of jokes they should have removed?
How about a tally of things they
It's
could
too
keep?
long.
Keeping would be a shorter one.
So, Crimson, you said you don't understand why Johnny Depp's the cold one?
Yeah, why is he the cold one?
Because he plays off-put side abstract characters. You know,
Why does
like
that
the
make him
cold
cold?
children. Just not physically cold, but like off-put cold. Like distance,
cold.
outliner, outsider.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even. I just took it at face value, the joke. I didn't even think about why it would be Johnny Depp. I didn't think.
I mean, I think
about
they
it
could have
more.
included Sweeney Todd in there.
Yeah.
What other cold roles did he do? I guess the Ichabod Crane. I guess that would count. I don't know. I don't think Chocolat or Return to Neverland are cold characters he's played, or What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Yeah. The goal,
I'm gonna have to
obviously,
look
their
up the
intention here is
definition of this
obviously the
cold
intention
definition.
with you first, Crimson.
Never heard of that. This definition Sprinks is throwing at me with a cold character I've never
Not
heard referred
warm
to.
and welcoming.
Well, I mean, they're wacky characters. I've never heard those type of characters referred to as cold before. So
I could also be
into that.
interpreting it differently from the joke given, because I do that a lot of times on this podcast of interpreting things differently than the source material.
Well, intention or not,
But
I'm
that's
just
how I
going
took
off
it.
of your definition. I'm gonna have to look into it. Man, this movie just has nothing. Ryder, that's right. You let me go. You're up.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I assume that they're just the quote unquote Johnny Depp joke is here. They picked because man, I had the right word for it too. Dang it, Crimson. But yeah, pick the wacky characters, the quirky ones, the ones that have a lot of like little quirky tidbits to their characters that make them unique from society. Because even in the world of Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny Depp's character is probably Jack Sparrow is a quirky character within the context of that world, but he's probably the closest to being normal when compared to the others that show up.
Yeah, Edward talks about how it's different characters but played the same way.
Yeah,
something along the lines. Which
I have
disagreed.
2 examples for you looking this up. One from ProWritingAid.com. A character trait of being cold-hearted refers to a lack of empathy or emotion, warmth towards others. May appear distant, callous, and indifferent to the feelings and needs of those around them. Also on Wattpad, key things to keep this type of character are distant and unwelcoming. When someone meets this person, make sure they immediately seem unattached and not really there.
That disqualifies
that's
Jack
my
Sparrow
understanding
then,
of that.
right?
That disqualifies all the Johnny Depp appearances here.
I don't think Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands can stay. I think Willy Wonka, at least because it's the Tim Burton version, obviously. I think that one, there's an argument for that one. It's 50-50. Jack Sparrow, even more so than that, though, I think would be disqualified by those definitions because his whole
Jack
shtick
Sparrow's
is
the one I would go with. Yeah.
Yeah, if I like Jack Sparrow is the one that needs to be removed by that definition easily because he gives up immortality time and time again to save the people around him, and he always comes through to make the right choice. I will say that he's always comes to that conclusion in a roundabout way sometimes, but
he's unorthodox, but that doesn't mean cold-hearted.
He's not going to sit down and figure out all the world's problems, but he will solve his own problems while solving the problems of his friends.
But I can see the other 3 depictions of these Johnny Depp characters fitting that.
Yeah, well,
it's being cold-hearted.
Yeah, it's being cold-hearted. Like I said, I think it's Willy Wonka is 50-50 for me because by the end you realize that he's not. It's just a front.
Well, in the entirety of the film, yeah.
Yeah.
Of that film, sorry, not Breaking Wind.
Yeah. But yeah, so.
I have a objective issue. I know, I found one in this.
There's going to be plenty of those, don't you worry.
Well, I find it hard to find objective flaws in parody type films. So we see. I'm like Ryder. I'm just going to refer to him as Riley. When Riley goes into Bella's house and looks at the magazine, Ebony Thunder, right? Yeah, Ebony Thunder. We find out he takes it, and that's like the scent thing, because in the Twilight films, he takes her shirt or something. So in this one, he takes the magazine. But later, Edward says she didn't cover up the magazine and that it was still on the bed. Even though when we see Riley there's only one there. So just inconsistency with the magazine.
I'm going to go with sure, rather than help the movie of there was 2 copies or he returned it.
Well, he certainly didn't return it, but the copy thing would be the best faith, yeah.
I'll jump to the lunch scene, where we're introduced to Mini-Me Jasper and Mini-Me Edward.
Yeah.
I find myself wondering what's the point of the human character that's sitting with him at the table that's not Bella.
I guess that's the Jess stand-in.
Yeah, Jessica, Angela,
Yeah.
or Jennifer, I guess, more comparatively to Vampire Sucks.
I suppose, yeah.
Because Jennifer actually has a point in that script in Vampire Sucks. I don't understand why this person's here at all.
For big dump jokes.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Potty humor.
I don't really know why the mini-me's are there and why it's just those two.
Yeah. See,
why isn't it the whole Cullen family?
The issue.
Go ahead, Ryder.
No, you first, Springs. Mine's a more broad issue, so.
Okay, I was gonna go at first introducing the little Cullens. I thought it was going to be like a Breaking Dawn Part 2, introducing more covens of vampires. That's what I thought it was going to be, and that wasn't it. It was just a replay of the first Twilight with the friend group, I guess, of Edward being like Mike and being on that side of the table, seeing this situation.
Yeah. I also thought they were setting up more family, but obviously wasn't the case.
Yeah, I thought these two little Cullens were going to be like replacing the Russian brothers.
Oh, I see what you're saying. And to get into more of the objective issues, I guess, with the difficulty of finding them in parodies. This movie suffers by having a more coherent plot than Vampires Suck. Because I think that actually does give way to room to a lot more objective problems. Because this one's not purely reliant on how the plot of the movies go. This one actually does move the plot forward in its own way. It's very similar, but you can argue that everything happens in world.
Okay. I suppose. Do you have any examples, Granny?
Well, I can talk broadly right now. The obvious point to me is that Riley still gets into Bella's bedroom, so that pushes forward the plot of the vampires and werewolves needing to work together to protect her, and leading to like the group meeting with at the Collins household and stuff like that. So there are some parallels to be drawn for sure, but this is still operating independently because it's not wholly reliant on it. Which unfortunately,
it has the bone structure of Eclipse, even though it's with broken bones.
Yeah, pretty much. Which means that I could functionally judge this more objectively because of it, to its detriment.
Well, good. Get at it.
You want to nail it to the ground?
I would love to. Let's see. I guess I'll look for some plot specific ones real quick. As much as I like the first joke of the TMZ stuff, it drags down the pacing of the plot. A lot of the jokes do, but in this case, because the TMZ stuff, while it was funny, obviously they dragged the joke itself into the ground, which does turn into an objective timing issue with comedy by overdoing it. But the fact that it also directly impacts the plot itself because it removes Jacob from the plot by the end.
That's
also, the
true.
joke of it shows that the characters are blind.
That
they don't care that the ZMZ is always watching.
Yeah, which is another problem that I do have with it.
I mean, by the fact that they play it 4 times as a joke, would you, not you directly, but could you interpret that the camera throughout the entire film is someone from ZMZ in this film?
You can,
but I think I might be leaning towards that being a stretch. The only reason that I wouldn't want to do that is because it's an asterisk you have to put above every scene. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you have to think of an excuse as to why the TMZ would be here. Because the TMZ, typically, if I were to give them a characteristical trait, they're following the couples around, like paparazzi.
Yeah. You would imagine they wouldn't be doing like establishing shots either, like the flying shots through the mountains and stuff. So I don't think it would fit perfectly, but I'm sure one could try to fit it in.
Okay.
Jacob. We'll talk with Jacob casting. It's an interesting one. So I think the casting for the Colons were good. They obviously went for a very different direction for the Volturi and the werewolf.
Yes.
Where it was always a joke to the audience, I guess, with the werewolves are always having their shirts off and being ripped. In this, their shirts are always off and they aren't ripped.
Though they like to pretend they are, or delusional.
Yes,
one of the two.
Got
They have a six-pack.
Yeah. So
they make up for it with cock size, apparently.
Of varying sizes, yes. Apparently can wrap around a leg. Very peculiar. Anyways, get guys sidetracked. And then so I get what they're going for, making the attractive werewolves fat or overweight. I don't get the Volturi children. Can you guys explain that to me?
Is the joke that the Volturi are very childish and they don't like talk things out? They just decide and kind of throw a tantrum?
Yeah, I really have nothing to go with because they aren't set up in this at all. In Eclipse, the Volturi pop up a couple times watching Riley and stuff. But in this, they just show up here at the end as kids. And there's no like set up to them being kids or anything.
Is it the sense to play it as a nonsense humor situation?
I mean, that's my takeaway. I just didn't know if there was something I missed explaining it.
There was nothing prior that I know of other than Carlisle and the family talking about the Volturi.
Yeah, the only reference that we have is verbal one. They do reference the Volturi once.
Okay. But nothing hinting at why they're kids other than it's just,
nothing,
oh, you didn't expect that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's there to subvert your expectations.
Why'd you say that with like a negative tone?
I'm going to say it with a negative tone until someone can do it right. Or until we cover something that can do it right, because I can think of somebody, but we haven't covered them.
It's a bit saddening that kids are in this movie.
Yeah, is this child abuse?
Can't watch it
or
no?
I mean, well, maybe with the parents. I mean, the parents had to have like read the scripts that the kids were going to have.
For the context of the scene, nothing is bad towards the kids of a scene. If that was the only like day of shooting they had.
Yeah, but
one of them said crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say, what's it called? I guess it's weird to me. Like I assume they put them there to just be bad child actors. That's why I assumed they were there. Then that was the joke.
Bad child acting was the joke.
I assume.
I mean, they weren't good actors, but I don't know if that was the joke.
That's the only joke that I could perceive in the scene. I don't know what the point of it was otherwise.
Also, do you guys think those were actors or just like the children of some of the people making the movie?
I could say it's production babies.
I'm just going to shrug. Babies, I have no idea.
The children of those who worked on the film.
It's like, I can't see like normal parents reading the script, seeing all the vulgar humor and be like, yeah. But I could see the people making it like, you know what, these are my kids. I can have them expose whatever I want.
Crimson, that's a credits question that I did not do checking on. See if the kids' last names matched up with other actors in the film.
You guys are both braver than I did. I refused to watch the credits. I didn't care enough.
I saw the outtake blooper thing.
Yeah, hold on. Ryder, where did you stop then?
I stopped as soon as it started showing like reactors.
Okay, yeah.
Ryder missed like 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh, it continued.
Well, yeah, but it's not canon stuff.
No,
Okay.
the movie
it shows
stops, but
bloopers
there's
and
still
outtakes.
parts in the movie to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about the meta reactor stuff. I stopped right there. I'm like, all right, this is in poor taste. I'm out.
Poor team.
All right.
Not like
This is for all the tryhards.
That should be played directly to your subjective score.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does.
Tryhards.
Yeah.
And what's great is they had to get permission for the footage to be used too, just to mock them.
Yeah.
So good on them, the people that
saddening.
okayed it. They got a sense of humor, I guess, or they just liked the money that was presumably paid to them. I don't know.
That's true.
The title of being "I was in a Twilight movie." Big quotations on that.
Yeah, big quotations. All right, Sprinks, you got something to go for?
Yeah, as Ryder said, he knew what this movie was with the fellatio book. I knew it when Riley was attacked in the rain and his shirt came off, and then his clothes came back on. And I thought that would be more of a running gag.
I don't think it needed to be one. I could see them doing it.
Yeah, I'll admit I just assumed that was just the starting joke because everybody in the Twilight franchise is supposed to be ripped or whatever, or like really in shape. So I didn't take that as a hint
Like
of
an
the sense of
extreme
humor.
joke.
Yeah. The first clue, I suppose, is technically the bite on the ass.
Interesting. Okay.
Um,
Because yeah, I got it when his clothes came back on.
Sprinks.
If
I
it was
think
just
what
taking it
Ryder was
off.
just describing as more of the vulgar humor.
yeah, I'm referring more of the
revealed
raunchy,
with
vulgar
the-
humor specifically.
Not the first hint of humor or of a parody type deal.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be the distinction I'd make as well. Because it like I said, as soon as you get to the metal part, it starts just rapid firing out the vulgar.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Raunchy humor.
But the shirtless bit is still sexualizing.
It's sexualizing, but not raunchy.
No.
There's the difference. Yeah. The difference in vulgarity is that it's sexualizing. It's not like he's dancing with a pole or whatever.
Yeah. During the rain scene, and this is one I can't tell if it's an objective flaw, is you can see the direction of where the rain is coming from, like a hose on the side. It's not top down.
I would say it is because the film doesn't play it off as a joke.
I just don't know if it's like a subtle joke or if it's just poorly done. It's hard to tell.
I'm looking at this production. I'm willing to bet against it.
They don't pan to show someone sprinkling, like with a hose or something.
To be fair, though, they could have been just restricted by budget, which is another thing that I have to consider, which wouldn't necessarily make it an objective issue. It's just they worked with what they had as best as they could.
I mean, I would see that as an objective flaw.
That's a heavy word to put onto this. Best that they could.
All right, yeah, I'll label that as a problem. The rain thing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, best as they could is definitely something I can label to a lot of things that are supposed to be good, or they well intended, or work with the best that they can do with whatever materials they have on hand. It'd be
with how I see or hear you two with your objective scaling. It's like, did they meet the criteria of what they were aiming to go for? And it seems in this instance, with that, was it a tried attempt?
I mostly agree with that statement for me. Budget usually, I can point out a budget and be like, this is because of the budget, but the budget itself doesn't affect my objective. It's the final product that I care about. So if this rain is poorly done because they had a low budget, I can acknowledge it. But as a product, it's low quality, so I would nick it.
Okay.
They play on Edward being deaf twice, I think. Or I picked it up twice.
What?
Oh, that's funny. No, the first instance was like the beginning of Bella and Edward in the meadow, whatever, and she's speaking out loud of her narrator.
Narration.
Narration. Yeah.
And Edwards clearly can hear her but doesn't. And then the second one is when Jacob gets Bella warm, and he just doesn't not care.
He is quite oblivious there for sure.
Yeah, he is going on and on about political unity or whatever the fuck.
We can unite this centuries-long family feud. We can be friends. You're a great man deep down. Yeah. Which is unfortunate because I thought that scene was really good in the movies, and then they did this.
I'm not surprised.
It was a very obvious joke they
you
could
can
have
still
done
go with
it
it.
too. It wasn't even creative.
Movie. Yeah. I thought, again, it would be not a running gag, but something to show that Edward can't read Bella's thoughts, and it's just he can't hear her.
I see what you're saying. That would be funny. If that's consistent,
that would be funny if it was the whole movie. Yeah. If it's only Bella, or him always talking to Bella, but never acknowledging what she's saying.
Yeah. That's what I thought was going to happen, but they didn't. So I'm still kind of on the fence if that was what the intention with the first joke of it was. But more of the running gag they used for Edward was... Yeah, I think more of the running gag that they used was Edward translating werewolf.
Yeah. Seth, he said the battle started. They never really call him Seth in this, do they?
No, they don't. But I find it funny that Seth is the only quote-unquote ripped werewolf.
Yeah.
He's new. He hasn't eaten a lot yet.
He's the only one that's in shape. That's true. Might be that. Jumping to Jacob's introduction scene. It's definitely a tone shift, and there's a running gag of Jacob eating in literally every scene that he's in.
He eats a lot.
I was fine with the bit of around the campfire and Jacob's food changing upon takes.
Mm-hmm.
I was fine with that too. Because that's the gag. Every time you see him, he's holding a different piece of food or some kind of food.
And he had the marshmallow rope, which was an interesting choice.
I thought it was going to be played off as a dick joke.
Oh, it absolutely is played off as a dick joke.
Yeah, they do. When he moves to put it on her mouth, but it wasn't the marshmallow rope that touched her face.
Well, yeah, that was a literal dick joke. I thought the marshmallow thing would have more of a joke to it.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Like comparatively, and like put it in her hands and like something like that, but it wasn't.
I can't tell if Jacob has actual feelings for Bella in this film, like as compared to the normal Twilight stuff, where it's clear that he does have feelings for Bella. Here, it's a little more ambiguous.
I don't know if he has feelings. You can tell. He certainly has the imprint for her.
With Bella, the imprint. Bella, I don't know what her love is either. She can say Edward.
No,
she just wants to sleep around with anybody, really.
Yeah, she can say Edward, but it's clear that she cracks a joke. I think one of her first narrations. Edward doesn't trust me. I've only slept with or I only gave oral to a group of people or something like that. It was she clearly gets around, and she's very self-conceited, which kind of leads. One of the things I do like that that has continuity to it. Every time she's being conceited, Rosalie just fucking hates her.
It's about me. Everyone's focused on me. Punch.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. Yeah. I didn't really understand what Rosalie was doing originally when she threw the knife at Emmett. I was like, what is she doing?
and then he realizes the scene continues.
The blow
sideways gun. I don't know why she put a silencer on it.
I have no idea.
Cool factor, obviously. It does double damage or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, even with those two, the gun and the blow dart, I didn't realize what she was doing. It was the kicking her into the table later. I was like, oh, that's she was failing to kill. Yeah. Oh, she's failing to kill Bella. I didn't.
Oh, wow. No, I figured
I
out with
was
the blow
very
dart because
oblivious to it.
Bella clearly ducks out of the way and it hits Esme.
Oh.
Yeah.
I must have been looking at my notes. I didn't see the duck, so I guess I did. I looked at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Oh, what? You didn't scroll back and
Every time I
rewind and
scrolled
watch?
back, it was too far. I didn't want to go much.
It went back 30 seconds.
Too much.
um,
I added like 20 minutes to this film by rewinding it. Ridiculous.
but yeah, no, that was probably my favorite running gag. But you got the sense of like Rosalie understands that Bella is the source of all her family's problems, so she's just trying to eliminate Bella.
Yeah.
Which was honestly nice. I liked Rosalie's character traits in through line in this film.
Yeah, like I said, I think she's my favorite character in here. She actually kind of has a character, opposed to a lot of people. Bare bones. That's the
Bare bones. Yeah. Another tiny joke is Jacob makes Bella drag his bike all the way to their house because they wouldn't start at the school. And when she roughly like throws it up against the gate, he goes to comfort the bike instead of her.
Yeah, I guess that's more proof for him not caring about her.
Yeah, it goes around because like like I said, it's more ambiguous for me whether he's actually into Bella or like I don't think he loves Bella. It's just Bella is someone he can have sex with potentially because her reputation is obviously she'll sleep with anyone, even him, and rather
she's
than
just
it
a pool
being
heater.
Like, yeah. Then obviously there's the other end. Another thing for me was he's talking about the imprinting, and I think the implication is he's watching the dog show because he's into other female dogs because he's a werewolf. Being the joke.
Yeah, I believe that to be the joke.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I need to find a word that's below amusing, but still implies there's a level of humor.
Amusement.
A chuckle?
Feels like the same. A chuckle feels like there's too much joy in it.
A snicker.
I don't know. It's something. I like how they turned the weird aspect of imprinting as just he's finishing. That's what an imprint is.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Just retooled
a nose sigh.
A nose sigh. There you go. Yeah, I'll use that.
Let's see.
There was a part. Who was talking? I think Alice. Which poor Alice was not Alice in this parody. She was there, but she was talking about how they're coming here, and then Jacob worms and said he just imprinted. So I found that an interesting pairing of words. I didn't know if it was intentional or not. I don't think it was, but
I'm sure it was because that's what a lot of people do when they're making sex jokes.
But Alice, she wasn't the bubbly, joyful, happy character in this. The most we get is the beginning where she wants to throw a party, but she's not very bubbly about it, like in the previous two things, Vampires Suck and The Twilight Saga.
With the jokes they take from other movie licenses to play in this movie, I think it would have been funny if Alice was in a Pink Lady's jacket. I think that would have amused me a bit.
From Grease?
From Grease.
Okay, I haven't seen Grease.
Because the teenagers in that movie are played by like 30-somethings.
Yeah. You haven't seen Grease, Crimson? I'm not surprised, I guess, but
no, I haven't.
Even I've seen Grease, and that's saying something.
I'm not surprised.
I think it would have been interesting if Alice at one point, because they just like throwing random stuff in there, is dressed up as Alice in Wonderland, and Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter just comes and takes her away or something.
That would have been a good joke.
It would just be adding on.
Maybe we can write a better comedy film.
Probably could, because our comedy would consist 90% of raunchy sex jokes.
Yeah.
I'm Jeremy Farts.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those times where I looked back at Vampires Suck and went, perhaps I treated you too harshly.
I was gonna bring that up. Did this make Vampire Suck look better?
Yes.
I think it
oh
does.
yeah, tremendously
Absolutely.
better. I'd probably raise my. I think I stand by my objective rating for Vampires Suck. I'd probably. I don't know if I'd raise my subjective much, but it might go up a little bit. Because I'm still on the scale of parodies of what I normally like. I do think that. I do think it's kind of in the middle for me in terms of parodies, because Vampire Sucks. The difference between Vampire Sucks and this is Vampire Sucks has a little bit of ever humor in it, and it throws it at you in the hopes that some of it will land. Whereas this has one particular or two particular sets of humor, being raunchy or sex jokes or fat jokes, or toilet humor. And if you don't like either of those three, you're just kind of shit out of luck.
I think Vampire Sucks focuses and jokes on the Twilight movies it's parodying, whereas Breaking Wind is just sex jokes, and it's not actually taking any jokes really from the Twilight movie. I guess Eclipse.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the Billy Black jokes, the Danny Trejo. It has nothing to do with him. The whole farting or sharding or whatever.
No,
that has nothing to do with Twilight.
The only joke out of that is he's in a wheelchair and he gets up and walks away.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. The humor in this is not really contextual to the source. It's just how many jokes we can throw in that aren't connected to anything.
Yeah.
Such as redoing a dream sequence.
I'm actually, I'm gonna do the comparison. You know what? This movie reeks of someone who wanted to do their own story, but didn't find the means or ability to do so. They wanted to tell their own comedy story, but they were restricted to doing this.
They had to piggyback off another property.
Yeah, like, in the way that certain other directors play with billion-dollar franchises, that they want to tell their own story. And,
I see where he's going.
I mean, I can tie it directly to something we've covered, being Velma. I'll be blunt.
Could go with that, yeah.
Go
or the Halo pilot. Also that. So, yeah. I agree with the parallel.
Yeah, it's definitely, it feels like that to me. It leaves a particular taste in my mouth because I'm used to it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Sprinks, point please.
Ryder started going down the trail, and then he went to more of Jacob and the bike and everything. But I found it actually a little humorous of Jake getting on his bike and telling Bella, "How was school?" And she goes, "School hasn't started yet." Because that's actually a fun joke of Eclipse.
That's true. She does ditch school to ride the bike. I didn't think about that while watching this, but
that's good. Good catch, for Springs. I did not notice that.
Because Jacob shows up and then Edward just watches her leave before school starts.
I didn't laugh, but I think Riley, doing the classic Charlie's sleeping too hard bit. It's starts posing with him, take selfies, and then doing hand in the water to see if he pees his pants.
Yeah, and he doesn't want blood.
Yeah.
Even though later in the movie it's explained that newborns are I had it in my notes, but bloodthirsty, violent.
I have an
they aren't consistent with that at all. Anyways,
I have an objective.
All I could go with is that maybe Riley isn't a new blood at this time.
Yeah, I have an objective issue with that scene.
Okay.
Which one? The ladder or the?
No, the one with when he's taking photos and playing pranks on Charlie.
Gags.
Yeah. The actor who plays Charlie, obviously is pretending to be asleep, but there's a point in where he's laughing at the other actor and what he's doing. He's smile laughing.
Yeah, I missed that.
He's having a good dream.
I can definitely believe it.
Yeah, that's poor.
Oh, he's thinking about antiques,
Yeah.
I guess.
But
it would be a character inconsistency in universe.
What?
So
what I thought was did the Riley call him Frank?
No, Charlie said Frank, and we
Oh, he
find
said
out
Frank in
later.
his dream. Okay,
We find out later Frank is someone he was
gotcha.
romantically
I'm like, someone
entangled
said
with.
Frank.
Yeah, Charlie did. He was dreaming of Frank. We find out when Bella asks him why he didn't marry again. Frank was a potential candidate.
Gotcha.
Frank was the Skytram guy. Yeah, I think that whole section, the talk, the tram stuff, the marriage thing, was way too bloated with these jokes. Way too long.
Oh, I mean when he started finally breaking like the sex education part, or the
explanation of Skytram just felt like it was too long of a joke.
Yeah.
I
think the only the only bit of it that kind of got me to smirk was just how ready he was willing to lecture, and then the immediate transitions from when he realized like the projector lecture half isn't working, so he brings in like live models
demonstration
for a demonstration. I think that part of it made me, I felt something, but it didn't.
I did too.
What'd you feel, Springs?
I felt this movie sucks.
Yeah. But I guess because I wasn't the delivery of the humor at all. It was more like, I guess I found it funny that it was just ready to go, if that makes sense.
I think the funniest bit for me in this section of jokes was Charlie telling her to get out when she took it as like disbelief, like get out of here. When he was legit upset and wanted her out.
Is
and
Charlie
I didn't find that all that.
This?
Does he have a badge or uniform anywhere? I don't think
so. I mean, that blue shirt on entry has something, but that could be.
I legitimately assume that's a budget thing, why he doesn't have an actual uniform. But the joke obviously is that it's very, very bad police uniform. So, but to be clear, that's pretty much all the only hint we have. So you could be right. You might not be a cop at all.
Because I'm going with when Bella leaves the kitchen, an elderly man walks in. And Charlie's totally fine with it.
Well, Charlie knows who that is.
Does he?
That's the guy he does antiquing with.
Is he?
Yes.
Yes.
He very much says so.
I thought it was just an old man saying, hey, does anyone want to? And then Charlie raises his hand. It's just a complete stranger walking into his house.
Yeah. Because he didn't react like, who the heck are you? I think there's enough to imply he knows who the guy is. Especially with him
world
knowing
of this movie, I did
antique. I mean, even in this world, even if it is a random stranger, with what we know of Charlie, he's so carefree, it doesn't matter.
That's why I accepted it, yeah.
But I didn't see it as a stranger.
It would be interesting, though, because you might be right. What if he's not a cop in real life? He just role plays as a cop for sexy times. Because it seems to me he's got a house full of kinky people that are...
That could be it.
That's... yeah. Can buy that.
Yeah, that would be more fitting. He just lives he lives a bachelor's life, is what he does now. Which would fit, I think, with what this film is going for.
So I guess something kind of connected to Vampire Sucks is, in Vampire Sucks, the Colons drank human blood, and this, at least Carlisle does, drink human blood. So they're not exactly one for one from the movies in that regard either.
Eye color doesn't change. Their skin does not shine.
They make the glitter joke. Yeah. But yeah, we don't see that. It's not on the budget.
I mean, there's a part, like, I think at the tent where it's kind of a close-up on Edward, and you can see the caked-on makeup on him, and I don't know if that's to be played that it's sparkling.
Oh, it didn't pick up on a potential attempt at glitter.
The only other time I can think of the caked-up makeup scene is when he's making out with Jacob, when they realize that they have chemistry.
Oh, yeah, and how pale he is in the backyard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you can see where the makeup line ends,
Yeah.
The writer. All right.
All right. I think I guess as far as running gags go that aren't like damaging to the plot that's going on around them, I think the jokes that they have like family time while watching a TV show, as a gag is pretty decently okay. Like it wasn't they were well timed. Like they broke up like the quote unquote more dramatic scenes. Uh, and I think the payoff for one of them is okay as well, which is that Bella is bleeding out after being thrown to the ground by Rosalie, and they just all immediately go.
And no, I mean Jasper doesn't freak out in this.
That's true.
There's a lot of blood, and no one acknowledges blood. Even Carlisle, who likes blood now, doesn't go for the blood either.
That's true. Could have been used as a joke, but then following scene is Bella asking Carlisle how he maintains himself.
Which is he just picks his moments evidently.
Yeah. So he could have still gone back to that blood just when she wasn't looking.
I guess. And well, I guess more with the blood. Obviously, Bella stabs herself repeatedly with a rock and bludgeons herself, and the blood isn't affecting Riley or Victoria, but farts do.
Yeah, I find it dumb that she does that instead of going for the knife, which would have just made it easier because that rock cuts her way too easily.
And
it's obsidian.
That's the bad joke. Yeah, it's dragon glass.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bad joke. I don't know why they didn't even establish that vampires are interested in fart smell or anything.
The closest we get to that is Jasper, who's like, all right, I'll try once.
Do a little test. Yeah. But, I mean, whose was that? That was Jacob's fart. Yeah,
that was Jacob's fart.
And we know with Jacob's farts, that's just to hide the scent. Like, he's a freaky person.
He stinks.
I feel like that's something they should have actually set up. The vampires to be interested in the fart.
Like a Turkish sewer system.
Yeah. There's some interesting
That is probably the only instance that I would label, like, I think they did an okay job at romance building, is Edward echoing all of Bella's lines back at her.
Proof he was listening to her.
Yeah, that might be the only instance of what I would label, all right, good relationship building. Passable. You passed. Like, it's a C. Maybe a C minus.
Hear that, everyone? It's tacked on.
Yeah.
Writer's considering it.
It's on the spectrum of love.
Oh. It's got nothing on Love is War, but...
No, really doesn't.
It's a shame that was even brought up in relation. Yeah.
But in terms of relationship building, that one to me, despite all the humor, actually kind of felt somewhat naturalistic.
And Love is War, this.
No, this. Why would I refer to Love is War when we're talking about this? It would be unfair to compare any romance tier list to this.
Catch up.
I'm sorry, I'm slow. Okay. I'll bring up something I'm pretty sure isn't played for a joke, but I'll hear you guys out on it. Is the campsite is not snowy, and then Bella's frozen overnight, so okay, I guess it's snowing overnight. And then in the morning, there's no snow.
I think it's played as a joke.
It's definitely meant to be a joke.
Okay. I guess it was a
joke. But is it a good joke?
I didn't see it as a joke.
I don't think it's a good quality joke. In terms of objective quality, no. It sucks.
I mean, as long as it's a joke, I'm fine with it.
It's not a sex joke.
I thought it was a continuity issue. So okay.
Crimson, it also could be that.
We
could be putting more thought into it than the filmmakers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. And they had one really good shot that I tried to screenshot, but I couldn't screenshot successfully, of the flying over the snowy mountains with the like sunset sunrise sky with the clouds. That looked really good. I thought
Oh,
that
when it's
looked
breaking
great.
dawn.
Sure. That looked good. Probably my favorite shot in the movie.
Sweet. Well, there's an eclipse shot that I caught easily because I've already talked about it when we covered Eclipse. They
I know
did
what
the
you're talking.
half-track
The
car,
truck.
the truck camera movement again in this film, and being that it's like almost identical to Eclipse, I think that's them joking on the same thing I've already talked about.
I would agree.
As would I.
And
I
I
didn't
knew
realize
you were going to
other
reference
people
it.
would feel the same I would about that. Glad I'm not alone.
Are you glad the people that noticed it was the people that made this?
I don't care.
You want to associate with these people?
It's at least someone. But the fact that it's like almost a one-to-one shot reused, it stood out to them. Which brings up a follow-up to that in my notes of Crimson. Have you tried the new Camembert?
What?
The new cheese, the new sexy cheese.
Oh no, I haven't tried that.
Yeah.
Don't plan on it. I'll bring up an interesting, I guess, through line in this that I wasn't expecting. Because we have a shot of Bella earlier when she's going through her drawer and you see a bunch of sexual paraphernalia.
Dildos,
And she brings
everyone.
out. What's wrong with what I said?
You're a coward, is what you.
Brought up Jacob's. I mean, there was more than that in there. Jacob's letter, and there's drawings, and there's one of Smurfette in there. Like,
And
weird. Why Smurfette? That's weird. And then we get a reference to Smurfs by Billy during the campfire that the adults turned into Autobots and fought the Decepticons while the kids turned into Smurfs. So if the kids are Smurfs, what the heck is Jacob showing in that drawing?
Oh, I see. Yikes.
I know. I don't think they thought about that when they wrote that line.
I don't know.
Ooh.
But again, more outdated references. There's a Laverne and Shirley reference.
I couldn't believe that. What is that doing here? And why is it eating up so much screen time?
I don't know. I don't know why that was. I don't know why there's a Mighty Joe Young reference.
It's random. Yeah.
I mean, I don't like the. This goes into my subjective thing. I did not like the fact that this is gonna go to the other references, the Johnny Depp ones, that Billy Black just calls them all the same character.
What, the cold ones?
Yeah. He explicitly calls them all the same character, played by the same actor.
Oh yeah, I commented on that, disagreeing with that stance. Because Edward Scissorhands is very different from Jack Sparrow.
Oh yeah,
so on and
much
so
different.
forth.
Oh, I see what you mean now. Okay, out of world understanding, not in world.
Yeah, that subjectively got me angry.
Yeah, they were stretching just to have Johnny Depp references, I guess.
Crimson, how did you feel about the bash on Brendan Fraser?
Out of the blue, honestly. This was 2012. What was he even doing at this point? He was like about to retire from Mummy 3, I think. He wasn't even a big thing at this point. So even when this came out, I feel like that was a dated joke. So I feel like they could have picked someone else for the joke. I don't know who. Someone. Okay. I mean, they could have done like a reference to Twilight. Taylor Lautner, why is he in all these things or something? Referencing an actor from Twilight.
They couldn't say Johnny Depp, but they were able to say Brendan Fraser.
I mean, they probably could have said Johnny Depp. I don't.
Do you think for them it's funnier that they didn't use his name?
I don't think it's funnier, no. I mean, I even questioned why he's called the Cold One, so no, I don't think it's funnier.
Can the vampires smell better? Or do the vampires still have a good sense of smell here? Is that the implication?
That's why they're masking Bella's scent with Jacob.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
So
It's
that's
just
the
it's just a quick
implication.
question because it was yeah. I actually don't have anything to add. I was just a quick question for world building.
Okay. How do you guys feel about the narration bits?
The first instant, well, the second instance, another sex joke. First instance, is it her commenting on junior mints and asking if someone has junior mints? Is that the movie identifying that it knows it's getting a theatrical run?
I didn't see it that way, but maybe.
Like it's talking
That
to the theater
confessions,
audience
yeah.
who's got candy?
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. You think it's a very, very fourth wall breaking jokes. It could
Yes.
be. I can definitely see it that way.
Because I think it's a lot lamer if she's just talking nonsense, like someone while she's recording has junior mints in her world.
I'd have to listen to it again for context,
The
but
only
you're probably right.
the only instance that I mean, she is shown to like mints in world. Like she has an Altoid when Edward comes over and he's freaking out because she hasn't called him or
Gonna
talked
be
to him all
honest,
day.
that to me is the worst joke in this movie.
The mint.
Yeah.
Want to explain why, Loris? Joke?
Oh, I smell like dog semen, and puts a mint in her mouth.
Yeah.
After just leaving Jacob, who imprinted his pants.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not a werewolf.
Okay.
I thought that was the worst one.
It could have been a different werewolf. Didn't have to be Jacob. What were we saying leading up to that? I forget what the point was before.
Sorry,
Okay.
distracted by that joke. The junior mint.
Oh, yeah. The narration stuff. That's right. I think it's the same type of thing with the ZMZ where they just overplayed the jokes because every narrated bit had a joke in it. And I think the best one was where she forgot the mic was on, even though it's crude humor. That's probably one of the best crude humors in this for me. Just forgot the mic was on. And that could be fourth wall or I guess in universe to whatever the narration is. I don't know how they would want to play that out.
Well, there was one joke that I thought aged very well, surprisingly. They crack a joke in here about Epstein being the tribal leader or whatever. And obviously, the idea is that they're more of a they look more like a cult than they do like an indigenous tribe. Which and Epstein in our world obviously is a horrible monster and stuff like that. When has an island there where lots of naughty things happened. So thought that joke aged rather well, surprisingly.
Some parallels to be drawn for sure. I think I'm going back to the first ZMZ bump because I wasn't directly looking at the notes at the time. Sprinks, I imagine you kind of saw an inconsistency there with the camera work.
Not exact. I don't know.
You don't know, okay. Well, they tried to splice two shots and treat it as one shot, and it was done poorly. Because you got the bump, like the camera's at his chest, and then there's a cut to a different shot of them pulling back. It's not a one shot of bump and pull back. It's two shots poorly spliced together.
Yes.
Did they do that with the rest of the TMZ stuff, or was the rest just a little bit smoother?
The rest all
The other
look
ones
fine.
are a bit fine because it never cuts back.
I see.
They were one motion. This one was two shots spliced poorly. Let's see, and Sprinks, you're up.
Sure. We got Germany, Italy, Romania, India, United Kingdom, I think Norway. A little humor for you. Let's see.
Some Europe jokes, yeah.
Yeah. There's a Paranormal Activity reference, and the activity happens at 4:20.
I didn't see that. Of course it did.
Of course it did. And because I can ask this question, since this movie is based on its own plot, why would Edward why would Edward work with Jacob to protect Bella? Because the
movie
Twilight
wanted
movies
him
actually
to.
give reason. What's the reason here, other than the base meta that they're supposed to?
He likes Jacob.
Yeah, there's some sexual tension.
There is sexual tension that arrives out of that scene, yes. But
well, they already made out.
No, I'm referring to that scene specifically. Like, why is
the makeout?
Yeah, no, before the makeout. Why is Jacob even there to begin with? Because remember, at this point in the film or whatever, all Edward's done is try to prevent Bella from going over there. And at least in the film, there's reason as to why Jacob's there, because he offers, seemingly more protection with the werewolves themselves. But in this universe, Edward has no reason to assume that the werewolves can offer more protection.
I guess that's true. Thank you, writer, for pointing that out.
Yeah, I'm happy to help make this movie objectively worse.
Yeah, you just did there. So I don't have an answer. Other than just the movie wanted it, or we could assume Bella asked, but we don't get anything for that, so that would just be completely nonsense.
It would be the same question as to why Bella would want Edward to help Jacob to help protect her. Like, there's no reason given in universe why she even thinks Jacob would be a good protector.
I agree. Does Sprinks agree? That's silent.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, 'cause I agree. Once they meet, there's obviously sexual chemistry between Jacob and Edward, and I think that's more than enough reason for Edward to want to keep him around. But before that, there is no reason for it. So my issue is more the setup of it's not there.
Yeah. Yep,
that I agree with. And I think that's played for just the humor of timing for the film. Like a sense of a joke.
Yeah.
Well, that springs. So what's the sense of the joke? The kissing part or something else?
The kissing part, like a quick punchline to something set up of a scene to hit the beats of the source material without actually sticking to a consistent storytelling plot, which is what writers picking on.
Okay. Didn't know if you were.
It's humor that it happens a lot. It happens fairly often, but in this movie more than most, for obvious reasons, the story takes a hit for the humor. Whereas, like in Vampires Suck, the humor is the story, which is the dichotomy of the line I'm trying to draw here to distinguish the two.
Yeah, I think there was only one thing in Vampires Sucks I said wasn't set up properly within its own confines. I don't remember what it was, but it was a topic. That was your point, Sprix. Point.
The Jasper's training is brutal.
Yeah, I like it more than his training in the actual movies.
I think
in Eclipse.
Yeah,
I would disagree for myself.
Because he's actually training.
I do like that it's actually, well, kind of.
I would disagree as well. There's a difference when you're training someone to fight. You don't just beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. There's no hard points on what to do. He's just literally just
the lesson
one punching.
Is this next time you duck under the bat.
But there is no next time.
That works for Carlisle,
it's
but
just
not for everybody else.
Punching.
Next time, don't charge at a fist. I mean, there's takeaways from getting beat up.
Yeah, but he doesn't say that.
It's implied.
He doesn't.
Assuming they're stupid. I mean, they are stupid, but
they are.
Tracks from what. I don't think there's nothing taught here. Is what my point is.
I think the joke would have been funnier if after the first punch on the first person who did nothing, he goes, "Keep your arms up to defend," and then the next person puts their arms up to go at him, and he punches them in the gut, and he goes, "Gotta watch for your blind spots too." And then the third person tries all that, and he does something different. Like he
I think that would be
keeps
good.
just one punching them.
That would be a
That
good
would be
running
good.
joke. I'd
'Cause
like
then
to
that's
see. I'd
actually
like to see. I'd like
training.
to see him work the whole cast doing that. That would be funny.
Yeah, the numbskulls just keep running them one at a time.
Well, I mean, they are not attacking together. This is supposed to be training one-on-one. So
Yeah.
of course
Well,
they're
yeah, but
attacking
I'm
one-on-one.
saying Alice on her third, Alice, the third one to go, seeing the other two instances, does nothing different.
I mean, it goes
And
back
it's
to
not
the
played like
stupid.
the original where it's like, oh, they're a couple, they'll like flirtatiously dance while they're training. It's like that's not a thing at all.
No, not in this.
It's just uppercut. She's on the ground.
That uppercut though is meaty. That was good. Where, like, he palmed her in the chin, and then potentially because the angle's a little hard to tell. You can't tell if he palms and elbows her with one strike or not, or if he elbows her or palms her. Either way, it looks meaty, and I actually liked that how it looked.
Looks like a good hit.
It did.
Also, for
Solid hit.
runtime, we all noticed they cut the complete background of Jasper out.
Oh yeah.
Which I think that could have had jokes in it, of course. But
Oh man.
Yeah, but then they would actually
I
have to
would
be building
never
a
miss out
character.
on cracking jokes on Confederates, man.
oh.
You think I would skip out on
Well,
that if I were writing
see,
this parody?
how much of this film it's subjective and onto the individual, but I don't know what line they couldn't cross.
Yeah. I mean, all the jokes are very, very raunchy. They don't really do any political jokes. Actually, I think the closest one we get is probably the Switzerland one again.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I think there's one other political joke, but I'm not remembering. I feel like they reference the Clintons, but I could be thinking of another parody because the Clintons are always the butt of like a political jokes and parodies.
I don't think they were brought up in this.
Yeah, I might be.
But right, as you said earlier, that the visionary or the director, for this film, was trying to make their own film, but had to kind of stick to what was given. I feel like with that and possible production company, whatever else producers for this, there were rules that they could not cross, and I'm just curious what that would go with the humor of this film.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Probably sex jokes with the Volturi.
I mean,
That probably would have
Smurfette
been too
drawing
much.
you brought up.
Yeah, I think they weren't aware what they did, but yeah.
So.
Which is why I'm bringing it up as an objective flaw. They weren't thinking with that.
So, what did
It's
we
a
think
moral
of Chekhov's cake?
Stupid. The exposition given right when he has the cake and how much is said about it is too much.
Crimson, you too?
I didn't hear what the question was.
My question was Chekhov's cake.
Chekhov's cake. Okay, I heard cake. I didn't know what it was. Chekhov's cake. I think it's very, very weak. I think it should be removed.
As should many things, but I get
because that was the replacement of Jacob giving her the bracelet, which then Edward gave her a bracelet in return in the mainline films. But this is just some random cake from Red Lobster or something, and it saves the day at the end by her farting immediately eating it. It's very pathetic, I think.
Yeah. She's not even set up to have because they set this up in Vampires Suck. Does this one also have like dietary issues? Is she is she?
Yeah, she said that.
Okay.
With the white cake specifically, makes her fart, and then she describes the smell. So that's
stinks like these three things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I was just I was curious to know if she was lactose intolerant or something, because I know that's in Vampires Suck. That Becca, and that is lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't set up before the cake, but it was because the cake they set it up.
For the scene when Edward invites Bella over and they're alone and it's like there's a bed and he goes, yeah, I thought maybe you want to sleep and being considerate with that, and then there's a pole there for Bella to do pole dancing. Did Edward hire some guy to be there, or was this guy just like came into the Cullen's house?
Oh, I think he just came into the Cullen's house.
Absurd random humor.
Yeah, that to me is that that came into the Cullen's house.
Could be the Cullen's butler or gardener. Who knows?
Which I guess
Or
the
the Collins
absurdity
house
of it
just
would
has a strip club attached.
be which I guess the absurdity of it would be definitely a tonal shift because it's not obviously with Vampires Suck that is the tone. Things just appear and disappear as needed by the story. Here it's not.
Yeah, not as much as Vampire Sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's clearly some, like the knife emergency thing on a tree that's just a randomly spawned object. So it's still here. It's just not nearly as relied upon as Vampire Sucks. Writer got something? I'm reading.
Continuing with the I love Rosalie beating the shit out of Bella jokes. Bella in this her is more self-aware, I guess, of her importance between the quote unquote werewolves and the Cullens, and like how they're being able to work together. So I think she is more self-absorbed overall as a character trait. So one point of praise, I guess, is that it is consistent with her character to suddenly start feeling really, really important because the two groups, disparate groups, are working together. And Rosalie knocks her the fuck out. So, pays into, again, one of my favorite running gags that I think is fairly well set up.
Yeah.
Classic tech joke. The "Are you human?" captions that Carlisle can't solve.
Do you guys have you guys ever had issues with those ones? I never have had issues.
Once or twice.
Yeah, once or twice. I don't. It's not an everyday occurrence, obviously, but it happens every now and again.
It's stuff
I
where
haven't
the
seen those
letters
word
or
ones in a
numbers
while.
blur over each other because you think like, oh, it's a 0, and then it's like a C because the C matches with the L, and it's stuff like that.
It's when they start like pasting things over each other. That's when it gets confusing and horrible and stuff like that. But the word ones, the word ones are still around. They're just a little more rare. It's more image focused.
I mostly just see you got 9 images. Point out which one has a traffic light or something.
Yeah, those are the more standard fair ones.
AI has advanced since then.
That's true.
Yeah, our robot overlords will destroy us all someday soon.
You want to sign into this? You got to take a Turing test.
Skynet is coming for us all, baby. Woo!
We'll have to do the forgot the name of it. The Blade Runner test.
The Kernov test? No, it starts with the K.
I don't remember.
It's K and it sounds like Russian, but it's anyway.
Sinister, where are you?
I know.
Or fake.
Voidcomp.
Voidcomp. Yes. Did you remember or did you look it up?
I looked it up.
Okay. Let's see. Well, so we briefly touched upon how the ending is Breaking Dawn Part 1, or a chunk of it.
The last 10 minutes.
I mean, 10 minutes is generous. It's not even 10 minutes. It's less than that. And it's not even the full movie of Part 1. It doesn't end on her giving birth or turning into a vampire or anything. It's just she's pregnant, and she's confirmed to be pregnant when she has a huge bump.
Yeah.
They turned that 2-hour movie into 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
Yeah. And that was something I said when we covered Part 1 was it was a super stretched out movie.
Yeah. Oppressively efficient. Almost too efficient.
Is that a joke on itself then?
It could be.
There's a
lot of people. That's very common when a book is stretched out too much. A lot of people make the joke of cutting out the fluff. I make the joke about the Hobbit movies all the time, even though I like those movies.
Yeah, that's how I go with
it. Okay, so the fact that Breaking Dawn in this film is so short compared to the thing of its original source material movie is the joke.
In of itself, yeah. At least that's how I read it.
It can be. I have no issue with it being considered that. Yeah. You first, Crimson.
The booger for the wedding scene. It was just so like low hanging fruit, lowbrow pathetic. Like, we need to put a joke in here. What do we do? Oh, she's got a booger.
Yeah.
Like, that's just,
Body humor they haven't used yet.
I would have preferred no humor or some actual attempted joke, because it's like they told a kid, "Hey, what would be funny at a wedding? Oh, booger. All right, we'll go with booger." I don't know.
So, I know it's a kind of, we talked about it. Does Edward love Bella in this at all?
He loves her more than she loves him.
Love is an interesting word for the character's usage of this film.
Yeah. Again, mind you, the only thing I would call
Marries
quote
her.
unquote romance building is them repeating the lines to each other. That would be the only thing I would call romance building. Because Edward, it doesn't come across to me that like Edward has a purity ring like he did in Vampires Suck. Edward here is just straight up is not into Bella's like appearance.
I think the love depicted in this film is as strong as a box of chocolates you'd receive on Valentine's Day, except all the chocolates are gone. You get a neat box, but it's hollow, and the stuff you're
like you get a
wanting
gift
is
of
not
a
there.
mostly eaten cake, and it's going to be really, really relevant later somehow.
Yeah, but at least that's still something you have.
But yeah, I'd say he likes her more than she likes him.
He just
Whether or
doesn't find
not
her.
that's love, the only evidence I have is that they got married.
Oh, it's unfortunate that Edward doesn't listen to Chris Brown. Boo-hoo.
I think one of the more interesting jokes in this is that I think they obviously it would be interesting if these were the actual, if they operated by the same vampire rules from Twilight or Vampire Suck, because I'm not sure if we see them go super fast in this or anything, or their super strength.
Victoria does. At the very
Victoria, beginning. Yeah. Maybe they do. Anyway, it'd be interesting because in those movies, the vampires, the Viagra wouldn't work. Straight up. And I find it funny that it doesn't work on Edward here either. He obviously doesn't have the blood to carry the chemicals through his system because he's been a vampire for so long.
We don't even really know if the vampires bleed in this. Victoria's head comes off and it's a pinata with candy.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we do get confirmed. Well, actually, we don't know if Mini Edward is a vampire, right? He's got the pale skin, though, so he's probably a vampire.
I don't know.
Yeah. We don't really get a confirmation on that, do we?
He's got pale skin. I think that's what we get on if he's a vampire.
He can clearly sneak into Bella's house whenever he wants, so.
Yeah, and pretty much get away with whatever he wants. She didn't really stop him all that much.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I actually thought it was going to be
Charlie's
Jacob's
house is unlocked. Oh, from the tent?
Yeah.
They could have played as a joke where it's a completely random person.
From all the people that she's clearly had sex with, it may be.
Like a whole new character, like, I don't know, like another Johnny Depp role just like pops in. Like one of the things they did with Edward popping in and just going hello, or Jacob popping in and going abs.
A funny, I guess a more funny visual gag for me was, again, didn't laugh at it, but I felt something, was all the vamps not being able to swim across the water, so they all had like the same patterned moss covered floaties when they roll up.
Yeah, that one I just saw as too childish for me.
Yeah.
For any enjoyment.
Yeah, it was so bad I didn't get like actual enjoyment out of it, but I still felt something from it. Like it was.
It was a full Tory level joke.
Yeah, you know what it was? Here we go. It was the setup to enjoyment that it didn't pay off.
There's no werewolf transformations in this.
No.
We
don't even know they're werewolves.
Even in Vampires, I guess that's true. Vampires Suck. They turn into a chihuahua
before they get ripped and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. But in this,
you know what? That's a great point. Don't even know if they're werewolves.
That's true.
They're just dudes.
And Seth is the one that happens to regularly work out and make puppy noises when he gets his head bashed in against the rock.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of guys that emulate being dogs, like peeing on stuff and whatnot. Interesting.
I know Jacob is not an intelligent character, but he would be able to tell the difference between blood and ketchup.
Oh.
Well, it wasn't just blood,
Yeah,
I'd reckon.
Here's a joke for you. That was distasteful.
But
distasteful or gross?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was gross, admittedly. Yeah.
Jacob wanted some of that rag salad too.
I'm also gonna say it. Bella can't carry Jacob, so I don't even know why. I know it's poorly shot as a kind of a funny thing, but I don't even know why. That's how it would go.
Like when they're going up the hill and he gets off.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be like the Segway thing or like showing something, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's just the way it's filmed to show that she can't carry him.
Yeah. And I think it's an issue that she's able to carry him.
Realistically, yes. But in world, just a joke.
Yeah, and the rules of this parody, I don't really have an issue with it.
All right. Yeah, that one's me reaching for an objective issue, I guess. So.
But I will go with you, Ryder, that there is nothing to a payoff of that camera usage to show how he's being carried.
Yeah, because it's clearly like they're holding the camera at a particular angle as if they're trying to set up something, like it's a reveal.
Not to show you the ramp or whatever he's on.
Yeah. It'd be funny if he was on one of the hoverboards. Like
Just an offshoot of the Segway joke.
Yeah.
Rosalie's body disappears during the training sequence. He knocks her out on the ground, and then she's gone. She's not on the ground anymore. She's not standing anywhere. She just poofs out of existence.
Good for her.
She ran off to do better things.
Without a joke employed for that in any way, then yeah, inconsistency.
Yeah. All right. Ryder, how's your notes looking?
My notes are pretty thin as well.
Okay. Is everyone comfortable with like one more around?
Sure. At least for me.
Let's see. I'm scrolling ahead right now. I'll
start with you, Spring.
I could probably stretch the two, but.
Okay. All right. Well, if you got two, I guess you can go first.
All right. I think it's funny that Bella has actual frost growing on her face to imply how cold it is.
Yeah,
by the way, I'm putting every time I say funny with regards to this, it's in quotation marks.
That's all. It's like we need a new word, and I kind of forgot what Spring said, which was a good one.
No sigh.
No sigh. That's it.
Yeah. The no sigh. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. The good visual, I suppose. Sprinks.
Just outdated references. Like there's a Leroy Jenkins run.
That was crazy. I was not expecting that at all.
And then the planking and the owling.
Is owling a thing? I never heard of that. I knew what planking was.
It was.
I was like, wow, this is dated.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that one. I knew planking.
Oh, I guess I have another one.
Okay, sure. Why not go again?
The dead end joke. When the vampires.
The GPS.
Yeah. That one also was one that made me smirk. I actually did find that a little bit funny.
So yeah, they're using a GPS. What are they tracking with the GPS?
I have no idea. I think they just. The joke has a lot of inconsistencies, but I think I just like the visual of the dead end and them all arriving and getting angry at the guy with the GPS phone.
They're searching for the end of the movie.
Maybe.
They are making their way there.
They're certainly searching for their third act climax.
During the Victoria fight, or I guess before that, with Riley talking to Jacob, and Jacob brings out the what's it called, the 3-cup game or whatever. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Three-card Monty.
It's like 3-card Monty,
warn
but
you of your mind
with
games or
cup.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I think, a terribly paced joke. Really slowed it down because it wasn't funny, and I know that's subjective, but I feel like pace-wise, it didn't fit.
I think that joke could work, but that one would need to be. See, that word joke would work better in Vampire Suck because of all the like stuff that they just teleport in and out randomly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is definitely something to be said for a joke when they could have like built up this fight. Not that it would be difficult to do, but they could be built up. They could have built up like this fight is going to be really really epic. Like there's dramatic music playing as they face each other down, and then we cut away to that. So I see a way for it to work. It just doesn't here.
Sprinks, you're tapped out, yeah?
Yes. I'm neutral and on the fence of the dedication bit at the end of the movie. Because I feel like it's sad to see it being made for making fun at, but I can also see it at the time being legitimately sincere to those that inspired the thought of this film.
Yeah, because I mean, to make this, you had to be passionate, regardless, right?
Yeah,
whether you love it or hate it. So
how much trickery was afoot for it?
Yeah, I don't know which way it's leaning more than the other. So I guess I'm on the same with you.
Of course, on the behind the scenes of it or the making of it. So that's why I'm on the fence.
The outtakes and bloopers and stuff, they clearly had fun making this, which is good.
Good for them. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really have much to say on the outro stuff.
I hated the dedication.
I can tell you didn't stay around.
Yeah, the dedication is like, I'm out. I'm good. I didn't see the rest. I think a lot of it boiled it down to even if they agreed to be made fun of, it just felt needless to put that there, if that makes sense. Because they've already agreed, and I think the movie in of itself already implicitly makes fun of them. It did not need to be said. Or dedicated. It clearly already is dedicated to them.
All right, so you already leaned to the negative side of it.
Yeah.
And my negative regarding it is just how long it is, and especially how much of it's tailored to only one person. I don't know who any of these people are, and I don't know if like the super fan. I don't know if like the super fan at the end that had so much time is relevant to some degree to the Twilight community, or if there's a stacked on joke to her being more present. But I felt like it was too long doing it. That would be my issue with the whole dedication bit.
With pacing and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. It might have been nicer.
Because I understood it. I got the gist. Yeah. I didn't have to keep going.
Yeah. It would have been nicer if they did throw in a bigger mix and stuff like that. Because it was a global phenomenon.
Hour 13.
Maybe not as big as Harry Potter, but it was a global phenomenon at the time.
What are you saying, Sprinks? It was an hour 14?
Like hour 13, hour 14, because of that being tacked onto the end of the film with the credits.
Yeah.
And I guess the bloopers was kind of interlaced with the credits.
Yeah. I guess my last bit is, I think, a poorly executed joke. I know, it's crazy. It's out there. The Bella thinking, well, she didn't think she was pregnant. Edward thought she was, but she just had a stomach ache. But then it turns out she was pregnant. I thought, okay, so she's not pregnant in this universe. She just gets a stomach ache. All right, you got the joke. But then 2 months later, she's pregnant. Like, why'd you double dip? It feels weird.
And that also,
we had a fake out, and then boom, it's revealed
Crimson,
it was
they had
real.
to give more potty humor.
Well, yeah, they did. Ryder, you're about to
Yeah,
jump in?
I've corrected myself, I think, in my head. So I was gonna make a continuity issue with the baby growing ridiculously fast, but that's, I guess, technically canon to what actually happened in the Breaking Dawn Part One. But then again, this is
Yeah,
like I
got
said,
nothing
best faith
here.
assumption is that it's you know Tiny Edward is a vampire still, so rules still apply, I guess.
Yeah,
What
I suppose.
does the surprise on Bella's face at the end lean towards that? It was like not.
Consensual.
Yeah.
I think with how they were playing around, how she sleeps around and is a very sexual person, I don't think that's what they were going for that. But
It can be
I'm
inferred.
sure one could read that.
Yeah, it can be inferred. I would lean towards no, because given her sexual escapades up until this point, she could have just been really. They both could have just been really drunk one night, and that's how it happened. For all we know.
But it's certainly not off the table
But
as an option.
yeah. Like then again, it's the other way around. It could, for all we know, the other end. But okay.
Going with established how much she sleeps around, I'm going to go with that's the direction, but it is
I'd like to go with that as
an
well.
option.
But...
All right, I'm out. Ryder, you out? Or at least good to wrap?
Yeah, I think my last joke. Did we need closure for Jacob?
No, he's dead.
Did we need it?
And that's the joke of this movie. Like he just dies, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, he's killed
I
by
think
the
we
fucking
would-
camera crew. So
Yeah, I think officially showing him dead might be good. Because right now it is limbo. We don't know if he's dead or not.
presumably, it'd be easy to assume he's dead. That's because we got really
he never
nothing else
comes
on it.
back.
Yeah, so I guess maybe a confirmation thing, like at the wedding, we're like, too bad Jacob couldn't see this or something. I'm putting too much faith in this movie, but something to confirm it. Or when he falls on the ground, the camera pans down to him dead, like his eyes are open, not breathing. Like a good visual confirmation he's dead.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know if it's required, but it definitely would be better for it.
All right. Just another notch on the objective part, I guess.
Right.
All right. Now I'm out. I will not belabor the point anymore. I will not drag this out any further.
Thank you. All right.
The joke of this movie is over.
Who gets the pleasure of starting first? I'm the most curious with Sprinks is subjective, so you're starting first, so I don't have to wait.
Sweet. I guess okay. I got to go first. I'll start objectively. This movie's pretty doggone awful. The acting's atrocious. The story and writing, the only thing it has is the source material it's coming off of. Everything else is for a joke, for a gag, and doesn't adhere to making jokes of what it's coming from, and it's just bad. I think it's not great that's the pacing of the plot is to a joke to get to the end, and I think that is poorly written. The cleverness of it is to find something that's not being repeated as a joke, but even still, it's just the same thing again and again, and the humor and the comedy of it is not changing. It's the same repetitious genre, and I find that very bland and poor. The lighting, I guess, is fine. The one good highlight I'll give it is the music. The music in the background plays with the tone of Twilight and the how the world is, and it's not joking at it. It's not a song that's very this is what the character's feeling, like the angsty thing from Vampires Suck, or playing off of the joke from the wedding we talked about of the fat cat or whatever. It's the music in the background to me just sounded fine. So I think that worked with the story of the film. The camera work was very okay, but there are bits of it that go down because of what it's joking at and what it's doing in usage, especially with what Ryder brought up of the Bella carrying Jacob shot. So I'm actually knocking the cinematography down just a bit of how I would have it. I always forget something, but I had this at a 4, and then I thought on it for a bit, and before recording the episode today, I knocked it down to a 3.5. So that's where my objective is at. My subjective, funny enough, one quality is one joke I thought was all right. Another joke was one joke I found all right was the breaking glass and opening the thing of nonsense humor, and I'm like, okay. And then another joke that was kind of flatlined for me, just being fine in the middle, was Jacob's food changing at the campfire. Everything else I thought was poorly done, and some I think are below a 1 for me of just how bad it was. I really didn't like that dog semen joke. And I just thought they were very poor. And the one thing going for it was the music, because I thought it was fine. 1.5. I know it blows some minds. I can't tell if it is better than Velma for me or more enjoyable, what I'd rather watch, but I can tell you I'd rather watch Mars Needs Moms.
Which was your pick for worst movie you'd
Yeah.
seen.
And I give that a 2.
So, is this your new worst movie?
This is worse than Mars Needs Moms. Yes.
Ah, what an achievement! Hands together, everyone. We one of us has a new lowest movie, or one
Subjectively, yeah.
Yeah. All right. We can go with Ryder next.
All right. I'll do my objective first. Keep the trend going. I think I said at the beginning. The nonsense humor in Vampires Suck applied to everything, being tone, world building, plot, and characters, which helps it a lot on the objective scale. This one, unfortunately, doesn't have that. Meaning I can compare it to my normal scale, which is to this film's detriment, typically. So I'm going to get to the good bits first. I think the characters are mostly okay. I think they're consistent with themselves. With one of the main knocks being, I think there's some setup that's missing for particular interests in one another and how they would interact with each other. But I blame more of that on the plot. However, that does bleed into character issues. The characters, they're consistent with themselves. I don't know if I have questions, but I don't necessarily need or want answers to them, so I don't particularly care. I think the plot is a mess. And to kind of extrapolate out my particular problem further with I guess with the whole setup to why Jacob needed to be in the story to begin with, because the characters have no reason to ask him. There's a through line in that, and I have no idea why the characters the other characters around would be okay with them being there as helping to protect Bella, even if Jacob was the only one vouching for them. I'm sorry, Edward was the only one vouching for them, due to sexual tension. I'm not sure that's enough. I think and kind of extrapolate that out, I think that sort of take can be applied to a lot of the things that are pushing the plot forward in this film. There's a lot of parts as well where the pacing is off with regards to jokes, the timing is off, and that very much factors into the pacing of the plot. So I think the plot's terrible. The world building, there are vampires, and there's a question as to whether they're werewolves. The only real interesting differences, I guess, in terms of the world building that are played for more as jokes is the Volturi. The werewolves not being ripped, and the ZMZ crew, which is the fourth wall breaking camera crew. Um, I have a lot of issues with them, considering they're not really characters yet they play an important role in how the story ends up because the joke kills a character by the end. Um, so yeah, this movie is not great objectively. I'm probably at a 4, I think, objectively. With the only reason that it's not lower is I think the characters are consistent with each other, with themselves most of the time. Um, Subjectively, I don't know that I laughed much. I might have laughed twice. Uh, the first time being with Rosalie's joke, the Rosalie joke, and then I think the other joke that got me is the running gag of Edward still reading the thoughts of werewolves, even though that other characters can clearly hear that they're speaking English. Um, I think that one made me smirk, smile, whatever. Didn't laugh audibly. Um, I would rather watch The Last Jedi for the first time again. Um, I think I would rather watch with alcohol. I'd probably prefer to watch Velma again. Um,
Oh,
I don't like this movie. I'm settling on a 1 for now in terms of my personal enjoyment. I hated my life watching this. Um,
Wonderful. You've given me a great recap question for you.
yeah, I might rather rewatch Velma. I don't even think I'd want to watch this drunk. I don't think the humor is entertaining enough for me here, because it's fun to hate watch something sometimes. So yeah, I'm at a 1 for now. That might change to match Sprinks' 1.5, but 1 for now.
all right. Getting some good numbers in this film. It's been a while since we've seen numbers like these.
There you go again, saying words like good.
Yeah, good. I like
He
it.
cares about his
Some
averages,
variety.
okay?
All right, I shall go. A lot of the objective flaws have been echoed by both of you. I don't have much to add. A lot of the jokes, the repeated jokes, get overused, which can affect the pacing. Being like the ZMZ, they really didn't need to be used more than once, and the fact that they do effectively, most likely, kill one of the main characters, I think, is a huge judgment to the joke. Ryder bringing up why Edward would enlist Jacob's assistance at the period of time of which that was brought up, I think was a great thing to point out, and that does shift my score. It doesn't enough to move it. The not having the forethought of what they were implying with the Smurf joke was I'm pretty confident they didn't think about what they were implying with it, so I'm just gonna nick them for lack of foresight with consistency with their own jokes. I don't know if I fully agree with the characters were within characters, because with Bella, at least, we are led to believe she cares about Edward to some degree. She ends up marrying him at the end, but the whole movie doesn't show her actually caring about him at all.
I said mostly.
So
Okay.
so there's a conflict within what they're saying she is, and that's someone that cares about Edward, and then showing that she really doesn't care about him at all. And it's all about me, me, me. The world revolves around me. So I found inconsistency within Bella's character. Edward, I guess, was consistent with how limited he was around. Jacob was also consistent. There's continuity errors that was brought up. Potentially the snow thing. Don't know if it's a joke or not. But you guys were saying it was more potentially leaning towards a joke. Rosalie disappearing off the ground. And there was another thing, but I don't have time to read my notes to find that. But there was this continuity errors. I do agree with Springs. I think the music is probably the best part, production-wise, in this. I wrote down epic music in parentheses during the whole like wedding montage, and I guess the just Breaking Dawn montage. They had decent music playing over it. So yeah, objectively, I was giving this a 4.5. I'm matching Writer's 4. There's some good, like I said, most of the characters are consistent. I think the camera work in large is decent. I even complimented on one. The music's fine. So there's some good here, just not revolving around the comedy, which is the whole point of this movie.
How unfortunate.
I know. And all right, continuing off my objective there, was a compliment that we gave to Vampire Suck was the variety of humor, and this stuck with the same type of humor. No variety really at all. Fart jokes are like the lowest level of comedy, and to completely rely on it the entire time is really weak. Anyways, subjectively, I was bouncing between two numbers. Having watched it and then our entire coverage, I couldn't figure it out, and I've decided that I'm going with a subjective 2. And I know some people might be looking at what we've covered in the past and be like, really, this is worse than that. Like, I see this as worse than Jurassic World Dominion and the Halo pilot. And yeah, it's not funny. There's only a couple things where I didn't even smirk. It's like a blip in my brain, like, oh, something. I get a pulse of life because I'm with Ryder. It was hard to get through this. This is an hour and like 12-minute movie if you cut out the reactions and the credits and all that stuff. It's a very short film. It took me 3 hours to watch this thing. So it was a struggle. So a 2. Not the worst thing, because Velma exists, and I hate that with every fiber of my being. And I think there's something else lower, but 2.
Okay. This is better than Velma for you.
Yeah, because this is just bad. Velma hates the viewers, and I take that personally.
That's a fair view to hold. I also want to say I agree with your sentiment. I would much rather watch Halo than Jurassic World Dominion.
Ditto. Also point, I mean, I don't think it took me 3 hours, but there was, I think at the 41, 42 minute mark, I had to break. I had to take a break from the film.
I can't blame you.
Yeah.
It was a hard one.
I'm also exactly the same. I got 35, 40 minutes in, and I stopped for the day and gave it a 2-day separation break.
Wow. Okay, a little more than 3 hours then.
Well, I didn't come back to it. I'm like, nah, I need to mentally prepare for the rest of this. It was a slog.
All right. And, as we always do, Team Jacob or Edward?
Specifically this movie only?
Yeah. All right. It's going to be a tough one, because I think this is the worst iteration of both the characters.
For you. I'll be straight up. I don't have an answer for you in this one.
Come on. Spit it out.
And you can't even say Team Charlie for this.
No, it's true.
This is the worst Charlie.
I would probably, you know what? Team Rosalie. I'm on Team Rosalie. She was trying to end the movie.
You're cheating.
Yeah, he is cheating.
We've done this for 6 movies. You can't just opt out like that.
Well, I'll give him time to think about it. I'm going to go with Team Jacob because there are more bits of dialogue that Jacob gives more seriously without a joke instance. Like when he's explaining what imprinting is to Bella, there's a good minute of serious conversation before an imprint joke.
Okay. See the logic there. I am Team Edward for this one, purely because Jacob annoyed the heck out of me. None of his jokes really landed with me. And Edward did have some decent air quotes one-on-one time with Bella. The investigation of who broke into her house was okay. That little 1 minute, if that, segment. The reiterating statements she made about her own fart smells, like Ryder said, something. So, yeah. There you go. Ryder, your answer.
Probably Team Edward. If I have to pick, gun to my head, that's what I'm going with.
51-49.
Pretty much. I mean, to assume they have percentages is, I think, a little too much.
I mean, none of us like any of these.
No, these are horrible.
Just...
Well, if that's it, gentlemen, shall I read us out, or do we have anything else to tell them, Sprinks, about
Please,
next
for the love of God, let us leave.
All right. Well, thank you, audience, for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, and Samsung, and all the other good old audio places. And if you happen to be on our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble, thank you for watching, and our PNG tubers and our slideshow. If you are on any of those platforms, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us how much you hate our opinions, how much you love them. Tell us how much you love this movie, if those two fans of you that Sprinks referenced. And as always, I have been a Geeky Writer.
I'm Groza Marion.
And I'm Sprinks.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.